We are live now. Hey girl, hey. How are you?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing very good. How so we got to catch up real quick.
Yeah,
It's been we didn't do one last week. And so what has been going on? I know our weeks be crazy. So for it to be 2 weeks, I know.
girl.
So what how have you been?
Why don't you start while I do this? How have you been? You start.
You trying to get checked. Okay. And then we got some eyes already. So welcome to everybody who just joined. Thank
Hey,
you for
everybody.
joining us. So I'm Wanaki really quickly. I'm Wanaki. And this is my co-host Vanessa. We do this every Monday, Sage and Bloom. She's trying to get set up for TikTok and Instagram because we multitaskers over here, okay?
Girl, look, you got to be nowadays.
That part. But so I'll just start. So for me, I've been pretty good. I made a really dope connection with a bank. And girl, I got a lot to catch you up on. I'm not gonna hold you. So now I'm not gonna hold you. I can't say it yet, but I made a really dope connection with Wintrust Bank. I just want to advise anybody, you got to start building relationships with your banks. Go in there, especially if you have business accounts in general, but ask them people, what can they do for you? What can they give you? Because they have initiatives and things and monies that they have to allocate and give away. Not give away, but goes to nonprofits and small businesses. So you got to ask and inquire because after the week that I just had, makes me
Well,
makes me want to dance. It makes me very happy. And all it took was one conversation. So I'm grateful, girl. But so obviously I had some other family stuff going on, which is why we had to miss last week. But other than that, things have been moving and I'm very grateful for that. So what about you?
I'm gonna invite you to the Instagram if you want to join.
Your TikTok's not going?
No, it's going.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna. Can I do that on here too? Girl, a co-host. Okay, plus host. Invite. I'm learning. So
Oh,
I'm learning how to navigate all of these different spaces. Oh, hi. How you doing? I didn't want to do that though. Thank you.
did you just
Oh,
you added somebody on accident?
yeah. Hold on. Let me stop. Let me go. Let me end and disconnect and start over. Girl, this is so interesting. So interesting how to like navigate all these things. I'm sorry. Okay, so here we go.
No, but I actually love that because this is really what it looks like in real life.
Oh
In real,
yeah, I mean this is here's the thing. It's like I am in a brand new space, right?
yes.
This is my name is Vanessa Stokes.
Can
Um,
you introduce yourself to those people who
yeah,
want you first? Yes, let's do that.
yeah. So my name is Vanessa Stokes. I'm an artist and entrepreneur. I'm a writer and photographer and curator. I live in the Austin community on Chicago's West Side. I am opening in a gallery and cafe called the Out West Gallery and Cafe. My father was he was a photographer and he had the first black owned photography studio in Chicago. And yeah, I'm just here to break through, I guess. You know what I mean? Like share, learn how to do, things differently, build community. And yeah, so we met, Wandaky and I met, and we created Sage and Bloom, which is essentially our experience that we're having as we're
Real
going
time.
down. Yeah, real time as we're going down this road of life. Like Wandaky is younger than I am, so it's an intergenerational conversation. But just really, noticing that we have a lot in common. You
Mhm.
know, going through these spaces, and when you're an entrepreneur, you know this, right? It's very lonely.
Yeah.
It's a very lonely space. Most entrepreneurs are very isolated. We're figuring out how to do it as we go. And for a lot of people, that's, it's very uncomfortable because like what I'm essentially saying is like, I don't know. I can't answer a whole lot of questions. I can speculate. I can tell you what I think might happen. I can even forecast some things. However, it's not like I'm getting a check every 2 weeks. You know what I mean? It's not like, like you gotta like put your whole body, soul, spirit in it. It's like it's like playing. It's like I'm like an NBA player. That's how I kind of see myself. Like I'm in the league, right? Like, and so there's a business acumen you got to learn. You got to fall on your face and understand that that's just life and learning and wisdom and growth. So yeah, it's all of those things. It basically, like you said, real time. We're here to share what it's like real time and what we're dealing with and just our experiences. So last week we didn't have Sage and Bloom because Wanaki had family in town. And so Wanaki was just sharing about like her experience, and I'm sure a million things happened last week. I'm sure, because I know a million fucking things happened to me last week.
Yes.
Oh, last week was it was I don't know how to say it. Like it was like epiphany. Like I had an epiphany after an epiphany after an epiphany. Like it was just like miracle after miracle. It's just been like it's just been amazing. And I got to ride my bike twice.
So you was out in nature.
I was out in nature. I was outside riding my bike.
Listen, when we're done with this, I'm going to the beach to work from the beach today. I want to be near water. The weather's good, and so I'm with you. Can you tell me one of the miracles that happened in this time that we haven't seen each other? Because give me some of that. I need to.
Okay, so like I think when we hear the word miracle, we think there's a thought that goes around what it looks like. And so what I had to do first of all was to remove that notion that I had around what a miracle looks like.
Yep.
Right. Because like I think that's how we get caught up in all of that stuff that's out here is that we have these predefined kind of notions of like what miracles look like. So when a miracle actually happens, we don't see it because it's like, oh, that's not a miracle, And it's like, like you're already a miracle.
Yes, you know me. You know how I feel.
It's like you're existence here right now is a miracle. Like I have to be reminded. I had to remind myself, like, bitch, this is you a miracle.
Yeah.
You made it. You made it here at this time. Like, so one of the miracles I had, let me look. Okay, so I got one. Okay, so last Friday was the dedication to the Hebrew Brantley sculpture.
Okay.
So
your pop court?
Yes.
Can you explain to the yes. I don't know who's on here, so if they not from the West Side or if they don't know what a pop court is, can you just let the people know? Because it'd be the light flex. It'd be the light flexes for me because you just was going.
Right. Okay, so I'm gonna jump back just a little bit and just give you a little background. So in 2020, I was working with a nonprofit organization on the West Side called West Side Health Authority. And I was managing a corridor, the Chicago Avenue Special Service Area, which essentially is like a taxing district. It's a program through the Department of Planning where there's tax dollars put aside to create synergy along a corridor to different things.
Okay, wait, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
This is what I wanted to do.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So essentially, I was working this corridor. It's during the pandemic. There was this vacant lot on the corner of Chicago and Lockwood. I'm familiar with the area because my family lives right down the street. Talking with DPD, Department of Planning and Development, I told them I was going to take the lot. It was, there was nobody out in the street. Let's do a pop up. And so next thing I know, I'm going to call with the commissioner from the Department of Planning and a whole team of like architects, landscaping architects, like a whole architect team to help build this thing and money, right? So over the next year, we essentially built this outdoor plaza space, and we opened it June of 2021. But the design included a sculpture, which we didn't install just because we just didn't have the funding for it. So we had to get the money, right? So over the year or two, that's 2020, over 2 years, just build the relationships with the city and, other spaces. The Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events, essentially the city funded a sculpture. The sculpture was created by Hebrew Brantley, and that Hebrew Brantley sculpture is now there. It's there. It's been there since October when it was installed. But it completes the design. So we had to design with the sculpture, not the sculpture that we thought it was going to be, but it was a sculpture. But it's a prominent, world-renowned artist from the city of Chicago, Black, and it's a little Black girl, with her fist up to the sky. It's called the Fantastic Flying Little Mama. So like, I just have to say, this is one of the most challenging. It was one of the most challenging projects I've ever had to do. Right?
What was your biggest challenge?
I've never done it before. I didn't know what, I never did this before. So then there were some hurdles, so essentially if you're erecting something in the city of Chicago, and if it's under 15 feet, you don't have to go through buildings, right? The Department of Buildings. So it was 17 feet tall. So we had to go through the Department of Buildings, which we didn't include in the beginning. So we had already been meeting for a year to get there, right? So we had to take a step back. It added a good 6 months to the process, at least 6 months, probably more than that. But then we had to, then the winter came. So, the sculpture was done in August, so Westside Health Authority had to pay for storage. It was just a lot, they had to go in there and pay, literally, we don't even know how much these community organizations have to pay out when, the city didn't pay.
Yeah.
They didn't pay. So we had to make a call and say, hey, let's put it up and we'll do the dedication later. So the dedication was in between all this other stuff, right? Like administration changes, which nobody talks about in government, right? So when administrations change,
that's so good.
It's crazy. Okay,
that's so good. And let me just add really quickly to the people watching: if you do have questions or comments you want to leave, you can leave them live, and we'll see.
Yeah, them. Absolutely.
On if you're watching from YouTube, but go ahead. So administration change.
The administration changes, which puts a whole nother link in the chain, right? It just changes the whole dynamic of people because everybody starts leaving, right? So the DCASE commissioner left. Well, no, she was actually fired. She didn't leave. She was fired. She was let go. So when she was fired, that means a lot of her staff left, which is normal. That's a normal thing that happens in government, but it hasn't happened like that in a while in this space, right? So there's a lot of changes, right? So I don't know what it was like for those people downtown. I wouldn't want that at that time, any of those positions. So it's very frustrating for a lot of. So I got the back end of a lot
of all of that.
And so we decided just to wait till the spring to do the dedication, right? So here we are in March where we start having conversations about this, or it was like late February, early March, we started having conversations, which is already too late, right? Like, it's already too late. And I didn't pick the ball up because as a consultant,
that's not your responsibility.
Well, it was part of it, but technically it wasn't at that point because the timeline changed, right? Like, so technically the timeline changed. Nobody brought it up. I'm not going to do it because I got too much going on. I'm in the community. I'm a community person. Like, y'all know me. I got a lot going on.
Yeah.
So finally the city starts pushing this ball down the street, right? And everybody is dealing with a lot. So the communication isn't quick. It just doesn't happen quickly, which should always be inside these conversations. Like, you should always have padding for time.
Yeah. It should be built. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but it's not, right? Because everybody wants it done. And, so back and forth, we're going back and forth. Finally, we hit a date 2 weeks out, which was last Friday. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, this is perfect, right? Everybody was, the artist was here. Hebe Brantley was in town because the, expo.
The artist week.
Art expo.
Vera has been trying to get me to come out all week. I've just been tired.
Right. So
but I feel like I've been missing something.
Art expo happened. So artist is in town. Mayor's schedule lines up. The commissioner, DK's commissioner lines up. Everybody is on. I was like, this is perfect, right? And then it rains all freaking day Friday. I was like,
what did that do for you? What was that? Because I'm curious, like, what did that do for you? That feeling. Right?
Well, first of all, I had let it go. Like, the beautiful, the miracle that happened was I was not moved by it. That was the miracle. The miracle was I wasn't moved. Like, it didn't upset me. I wasn't upset by it.
Oh, I love when that happens, and I realize stuff like that.
I wasn't upset by it. Like, I wasn't like mad at anybody because look, at the same, I don't know what it's like being in anybody else's shoes.
Yep.
And and I'm not trying to be in their shoes because people got a lot going on. You know what I mean? Yep. So so the miracle was it didn't faze me.
Yeah.
Right. It didn't faze me. And I just moved through it. It was like things happened. I moved through it and I was done. I'm done. Right. So I put out a flyer and it said canceled across the, because I thought about it and I'm like, well, it's not postponed. Right. Because nobody else, they didn't give me a date that he was available. It's not rescheduled because we don't have a date. So this particular, on this date,
it's canceled.
At this time, we done. Right? Let's cancel, right? Now, you know how many calls I got because of, how many people called me and be like, it's canceled, right? Like, dang, that's bold. Like, that's what people are saying. I'm just like, how is that bold? It's what it is.
Common sense. It's the next
canceled.
Step. Yeah.
Right? But people like actually felt a way about that word, which I found very interesting. However,
because I wonder if perhaps it just feels like, lost. And to your point, you were saying how it didn't really shake you at all. And it's because you've probably reconciled your relationship with loss. Like, you've already been through that process. And the average person really doesn't know how to lose or to let go and to not see it as like a loss,
Right.
And so, they like, what?
So there's a process with grieving anything, right? When things don't happen the way that we want them to in life, which is a lot of the time, things happen the way we don't want to, and we have to move through life in a way that we are dealing with life, like dealing with the things that are happening. So all throughout, like, I mean, I spent time on this all week. Like for the last 2 weeks, I've been helping to prep, plan. I've been running around doing this and that. You know, folks at WHA were doing, they were doing a bunch of things. So we all were in action, right? And that's all that matters, right? Like, that's all that matters. It's, you know, that I'm staying in action. I'm doing all the things I said I was going to do. I did everything. You know, I was going to be the person to open it up, you know, welcome everybody. I wrote a speech, I practiced it, you know, the whole nine. So I put a lot of time in it, but that's just how I do.
Yeah.
That's just how I do everything I do.
Yeah.
You know, so it was great. That was the miracle. The miracle was,
yeah, I felt that.
I'm not the same person that I was.
Yep.
You know? I could see my transformation. I could see the person that I am.
Yeah.
I'm being my authentic self.
Yeah.
And I don't give a fuck if you like it or not. Plain and simple. I don't care. You like it? Great. If you don't, that's fine too. I just, and for a long time, that was my dialogue. Like, I really cared.
You cared.
I cared about what people thought of me, you know? And not to say that I don't. Like, I don't want to be like,
it's levels.
But
it's levels for sure.
Right. I'm not a rude person. Like, that's not what I mean. I'm saying for me, like, I'm always the center of my world. Yep. It's not something else, somebody else. It's not a job. It's not what's in my bank account or not in my bank account. It's like, this is the person that I am. So it opened up a lot of other things.
And so because I like that, and I think I want to take that to segue into like what our conversation is in our non-negotiables, because now as we're looking at the things that we're just unwilling to negotiate or, you know, to go back and forth with, as you can now see your own transformation, then I'm curious to see what has been the differences then in your non-negotiables?
Oh, that's a good question.
Period.
That's a really good question. Because that's essentially what I took the rest of my week, my weekend. Yeah. I mean, it did uncover a lot of things, right? Because, like, I realized a part of me had moved on. Like, I realized like, I know you know this because you love Erykah Badu, and you've said that many times. Mm-hmm. There's a quote that she says that when you transform, that a part of you has to die.
I just reposted that on my story, literally like 10 minutes before we started this.
Right. Yep. There's a part of you has to die, and by you moving, like, as you're growing, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what I got. Like, I spent Saturday, Sunday, and this morning grieving. Like, like sobbing, like crying, like literally
releasing,
boo-hooing, crocodile tears, the whole nine. I did it all this morning, and it was a release for me because then I really got it. I said, well, Vanessa, you know, this is preparing you for what's happening right now, for the level up that you said you've always wanted is here. Is here right now. So I had to go, like, I had to go through that to like be with this new Vanessa, right? So yeah, I mean, I think it's the familiar parts that I became, you know, accustomed to. Like, it's easy for me to manipulate somebody. Mm-hmm. Like, I know how to manipulate people. Like, mm-hmm. I know how to do it in my way. Everybody does it, mm-hmm. but in my way, I know how to do it, right? Mm-hmm. You know, I don't do that anymore. Mm. You know, I don't. You know, I'm just me, raw, like this, which is challenging for people to be around.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'll see something and I'll say something.
Yeah.
right? And most people step over shit. You
Yep.
know, they don't want to. They don't want to touch it. They don't want to deal with it. So a lot of that stuff is what came up this weekend, and I just wrote. I seriously think I wrote all weekend. I think I wrote about 12 pages of just writing of all the stuff that was just flowing out of me. Um, and what that does is now it leaves me space. So now I can actually build something that I'm attracting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like my energy is so in it
Yeah.
that I don't have to do anything anymore. Like I don't have to do shit. I'm just gonna sit and I'm telling you, I promise you, by next week, by the next time we do this, man.
That's just interesting because I'm there with you. That's what's crazy. It's like autopilot, and this is okay. So okay, I am just going. It ain't like we got 100,000 people, but so anyway, when I met with the bank, she first of all the story is wild. Now I'm gonna tell you the story offline, but it was amazing how it happened, and it really had to just happen that way. But it was divine to the point where by the time we had finally sat down to talk business, we had already met each other personally, cracked up, had some jokes, you know what I mean? So it was a really comfortable setting. But long story short, she was just telling me like, well, after I was telling her everything that I do, and, she was just like, well, I can tell you your issue right now is that you need to the most immediate thing is you need to actually launch yourself. I said, wait, what do you mean? And she's like, yeah, no, you have to, and we're gonna make it a fundraiser. And so she was like, and it needs to be within the next like 3 months, not before, because we gotta get the right people and get the right people in the room and all those things, but not longer than 3 months, because then you're gonna start talking yourself out of it, X, Y, and Z. So now we're in the process of well, I'm in the beginning parts of getting like just my budget and stuff together, but that's gonna be for my birthday, because I looked at the calendar and I'm like, wow, okay, July, that's basically 3 months. So we're gonna do 7-Eleven for the launch of me. Now I'm saying this because when she said it, immediately I just got so freaking scared. And it was not a fear of like, is this the right thing to do? Like, it wasn't that at all. It was, this is 1000% the next thing to do. And she is correct. And it's going to be a thing. So it's like that, the idea of, I know it's actually a thing. Like I know it's that shit is scary. And I didn't even realize it. I mean, at the time, because now I'm just leaning into it. I'm like, listen, if this is the next step, she was like, listen, it's the next step. And that's what you just got to do. And I'm like, well, that's what we're doing. So you know what I'm saying? So it's like all of these, and then all of these things have just been like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm with you. When I say I'm with you in a real way, I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that and what I'm hearing, Wanaki, what I'm hearing you say is that you're continually getting confirmation that you are on your path.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has a path, and when you're on it.
Mm-hmm. You know
when you're on it, and it's only for you. It's not for anyone else, because once you start, like she said, when you start letting time go by, you start listening to your thoughts, you start listening to other people, which is normal, right? Like that's a normal human attribute. We're communal people. We're communal beings. We want people to like us. We want to be connected. That's just part of who we are, right? And when you you have a gift like you do, it's very easy to listen to those outside things, right? So yeah, you got to you know, this, you just got to throw your ass in it,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And that is like, it is very hard because when you do that, all kinds of shit comes up.
All types of stuff. But it's like, listen, it is what it is. Let's do it.
Yeah. You just got to go with it. And so the through, right? Like, because when you do that, you break through. You
Mm-hmm.
break through, and that's when all of the fruits of your labor are there for you to see.
Mm-hmm.
And not in a boastful way, right? But in a confident way. Say, yeah, motherfucker, I did that shit.
Mm-hmm.
I did that shit.
Going, yep.
You know what I mean? Like when I hear people, because I hear a lot of people and they get, oh, well, oh, like I said this to somebody, I don't remember who it was, and this person was telling me about themselves, and I said, oh, well, you're an expert,
Mm-hmm.
and they were like, oh, no, I'm not an expert. I was like, well, how much time have you spent on that thing? Oh, yeah, decades. And I'm just like, well, I would consider that an expert. But people have been this notion that I should be like, oh, no, that's inauthentic.
And you know what else it is? Because it actually could be authentic. Because for me, what it was well, for me, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, it was this idea of what does that mean to actually wear that title of expert? What and what you think it, or what you think that might mean, right? So if I present myself as an expert to people, then that means that in my mind, this is just in my mind, then I don't want them to think that I never get it wrong or that I don't do this. So it's like this, you want to no, because no, I'm not an expert. I'm just good at it. But to your point, like, no, you are really an expert. If you think about the term and what it actually means, quite literally, you are doing that. But for me, what I realized, like, even with the launch thing, having done as much as I've done and not put it all in one place in front of like that kind of thing, why would I not do that? And it has to, for me, it was connected to this idea of being fully seen. So I like to be seen within my comfort zone. You know what I mean? Like I know how to work rooms, but it's also within my comfort zone. I know how to do these things. The problem with growth is that, which is what can make it scary when it's like in terms of your scaling visibility, is that you really don't get to control then, and you really don't get to it's an illusion from the beginning. You don't really get to control anything. But in my mind, I think I felt like I could manage it better, I can contain it better if it was just at this level. You know what I mean? So when I start putting terms to it, attaching terms to it, then it just starts to become like this really big thing, and it's like, no, this is comfortable here. So I guess I was saying, for me, I was in my comfort zone still. As big as other people may have seen me, I had outgrown those other comfort zones. I was at this comfort zone. I was like, I don't need to be that. I could be seen, but I ain't got to be that seen. You know what I'm saying? But then what's the other side to that? The other side is you're not that seen, which means that then people can't handle you the way that you deserve to be handled. And they're not going to look at you the way in business, the way that they probably should look at you. They won't fully see you. So for me, it's just like, well, I have to now just overcome like the challenges of what it may feel like to be fully seen. And the only way to do that is to go through the process of being
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So I guess I said that to say that for me, it came from, I guess, doubt and fear. And that was very authentic,
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But that whole practice that you went through, right? Because you went through a whole practice to get back to the fact that that at the core, this is you at the core. You know what I mean? And see, that's the part that most people don't do.
True.
They don't go through any kind of practice, right?
That's true.
Right? Like if somebody sees you as an expert,
yeah,
and you downplay your expertise,
yeah,
that's letting me so look, there's nothing wrong with that. I just want to be clear. Like,
yeah.
That's cool. Like, I'm not trying to make you see that you're an expert. If you say that you aren't, okay,
I'm gonna believe you.
right? But here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna walk away.
Yeah.
I'm gonna walk over here because I want experts
Yeah.
around me.
Yeah.
I want people who are gonna say, yeah, I'm an expert. Absolutely. You know, and then that will create a dialogue. Then only experts get, like, only people who appreciate that person into saying that they are an expert, right? So I'm gonna have a conversation with you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That to me is authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
That's being authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Now downplay, like I don't, that's inauthenticity. And that's nothing wrong with that.
No, I'm hearing this. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with being inauthentic, and I want to be clear when I say that, because everybody is inauthentic at some point in time in their life.
So let's set a
what is inauthenticity?
Yes. What would be the foundation? How are we to make sure that we're both seeing it even the same way?
So an inauthenticity is a part of you that you're like I would say it's like you're not clear about that part of you. So like, okay, I'll give you let me give you an example. Okay, so like lying is an inauthenticity.
Okay.
So that's an act. When you lie, you're being inauthentic, right?
Yes, for sure. But that's an intention. You're intentionally doing that, and I think that's what would make it inauthentic for me.
So essentially, if you're inauthentically being intentional, like if you're intending on being a certain way and you're being inauthentic about that intention, that is an inauthenticity. Yes. So like, and this is real basic, right? If somebody says something to you, like, "Oh, do you like my hair?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of my hair?" You know, and then you say, "Oh, girl, look good," knowing that should look like
you just lied.
Bite you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not saying say it like that,
but tell the truth.
But tell the truth.
Your truth.
Tell the truth. Say, hey, you know what? Whatever that is for you, whatever shows up. But what happens when we are being inauthentic is like we're showing the world a different side of us. Mm-hmm. We're not showing all of us. So it's like a withholding. Like you're withholding who you are. Like, no, we don't want you withheld. We don't want you holding back. We want to see all of you all the time. And what does it take for you to do that? But that's that part that we just don't do that. It's, because we have all these thoughts about, oh, I don't want to upset somebody. Oh, I don't look bad. Oh, like all these things that aren't real. So when I'm saying being inauthentic, it's like you're not being your real self.
And you know what? As I hear you say that, I think I'm gonna definitely stand corrected, because as I hear you say it, I know that, but I don't know. This is just me though. So for me, if I'm in a space where I don't want to sound cocky, but if I'm
that's what I mean.
I know.
That's what I mean.
Yes, like, I know. Because if I'm in a space,
cocky,
I know.
You're gonna sound cocky too.
Exactly.
You're gonna sound cocky to motherfuckers who think that sounds cocky.
Yes. So for me, I will water it down a bit if I'm in a space that I know I can dominate. And I'm in I was in too many spaces that I knew I can dominate. I will water it down, and I know I can, and I will kick it up depending on who's in the space with me. So if it's somebody who I need to like show like, okay, this ain't that either, then I can pick up the pace. And so I guess when I hear you say that's being inauthentic in either space, truly, because I should just come in one way. And that's where I am now, where it's just coming in one way. But I do think that that's me being able to see the difference in the first place is what allows me now to transition and come in the other way. So I guess for me, what I'm saying is that in order for something to be inauthentic, so I guess we 50-50 on this. In order for something to be inauthentic to me, is there has to be an awareness that you're doing it in the first place. Yeah. And I know that initially for me, I was not even aware of these things.
Yeah.
But then once I became aware, like, oh, okay, you in these spaces and you kicking it down, and now I have a responsibility to be myself, be who I say I am. And then I think that's when, the inauthentic thing starts to come up, because that's when you intentionally are now doing things to manipulating spaces in a way.
Yeah. I mean, I think at the end of the day, everything that you said, yes. At the end of the day, at your core.
Yeah, I hear you.
At your core, you are a generous, kind, and loving person.
Yeah.
At your core. The work that you do is all about community and building our communities in Chicago and beyond, right? And so if
is that
is that who? I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, Wanaki. Wanaki just stepped, I don't know where she went, but we're if y'all want, you could go to YouTube and type in Sage and Bloom. We're streaming live.
Was that me? That was me.
Yeah.
Girl, look at here we go. Okay, I'm back.
Okay.
That's crazy. That's how you know whatever was about to be said was about to be fire. Because what?
Well, here's the thing. Like, I think that, it's so simple so being intentional and being yourself all the time, it does require a sense of awareness of who you are, right? Mm-hmm. And that's really the work, right? That's like you got to really know that you're a person that's true to yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And that, that might not come off to some people as mm-hmm. being loving, right? Like, and that's okay. That's the part you got to be okay with. It's like,
this is where
you got to be okay with it, right?
Yeah.
You got to be okay with the fact that not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody's going to see it from your vision. Not everybody's going to want to be around you, right? Mm-hmm. Like they're going to think whatever they think. Mm-hmm. And you got to be okay with that. I think that's the hardest part about being authentic, mm-hmm. because it's just a human thing. Like, we don't want folks to not like us, right? Mm-hmm. We want to be liked. Mm-hmm. We want to be part of community. That's just part of us, right? And so being authentic is essentially saying that I am finding my tribe. I'm finding people who I'm aligned to. We have the same kind of way of being. We're looking for the same kind of things. We're aligning and on our frequency, talking about things that we're interested in, like those things, like we're connected, like we're creating a fabric. That's the, there are like what, 6 billion people on the planet. Like, I'm not trying to be friends with everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know what I'm saying? But I want to live my life where I am excited. I'm loved. I'm loving. I want the people around me to feel like that they're loved. Yeah. That they are connected. You know what I mean? Like I want that around me. You know what I mean? And look, that's not gonna mesh for everybody.
Yep.
And I might walk away. There's a lot of relationships I've been like, well, you know what? It's been nice. I got to go. Mm-hmm. And it's when I see them, I'm not rude about it. I say hi because I'm still in community with them. I still live here. I still work here. So as a non-negotiable, because that's what we're talking about, right?
Yes.
Like authenticity is a non-negotiable.
I love that because I'm with you there.
It's a non-negotiable.
I'm with you there. My non-negotiable. Okay, so inauthentic people, I'm with that. You know what's becoming a non-negotiable? And you tell me if you think that overlaps with authenticity, then it would be people who aren't transparent. I've realized that because before it used to be like, just be honest, just be honest. But now I just feel like just keep it a buck with me before I even have to ask. You know what I mean? We be knowing what conversations need to be had. So I guess with that still qualified then as being, so what you're saying is that coming back to the core of it all, when you intentionally do anything that's opposite of yourself, then that's inauthentic.
Yes.
You're not being authentic.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing.
I agree with that. Intention, it has to be intention, but I agree with that.
Look, like sometimes we want, and I'm gonna be blunt here, okay? So sometimes we want we want crackheads not to be crackheads, right?
Right.
Because we love them the way that we love them. And we don't want them to be that, right? But the reality is they smoke crack.
Yep.
That's the reality. I'm not gonna be around crackhead. I don't care who it is. If it's my mama, my sister, my daddy, I don't care who the person, I don't care who those people are, my husband, whoever. I don't want to be around somebody like that. So I'm going to remove myself. Mm-hmm. It takes something to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. And I want folks to understand that. If you've ever taken the time to build a relationship with yourself, to realize certain people in your life that you've been around your whole life, part of your life, 10 decades, friends, whatever, you realize that those people aren't for you anymore, you move on and do something else, that is like one of the hardest things to do. Mm-hmm. That loss I think it's harder than when somebody dies, because at least when they pass away, they're no longer here. But when you're in a relationship with somebody that you're no longer in a relationship with, like especially like when you're married to somebody and you share children with the person, and you gotta see them all the time and build a relationship.
And you gotta move through that. Yeah.
Whenever you see them, you want to smack the shit out of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's hard, man. You know, so it takes strength to be in this life.
Yeah.
And you know, it takes strength to be able to say no. Yeah. You know, that those aren't the people that I want to be around. You know, it takes strength to find your tribe, right? To find the people. Because you really got to tap into here.
Yeah.
You got to tap in, you know, to find those people.
No, that is what you're saying is 1000%. I got to echo it all. I think that, man, you, and that's the thing. Like once you become aware, you do, like, it does take a lot of strength to push forward. And I guess that's I guess that's where the whole ignorance is bliss thing kind of comes into play for me, is because it's like, as long as you don't know, like you really don't know what you don't know. So it's like, you could be happy and just, even if you really not like, you know, even if it's like the worst conditions, like you could just be thriving in it because you don't know what you don't know. But the moment you do,
you can't turn it off.
You can't turn it off.
You can't turn it off. You can't, like once you put those glasses on of awareness, you can't take them bitches off. I be wishing I could take these motherfuckers off. I be wishing I could take them off. I be like, damn, he is so cute. Damn, I can't take him off. I can't. Damn, you know, I be these cute men, they be cute. You know, I be like, oh, he is so cute. Yeah. And then I can't take off the glasses, like, and I be like, oh man. Okay.
That's true.
let me go over here.
That's true. But contrary to popular belief, ignorance is not bliss, because I mean it can be, it is. But on the other side of like, it is. But on the other side of like that hard part that we're talking about, you get back to like the very beginning of when you were just saying like it's been miracle after miracle after miracle. Because once you get through like that part, and you learn yourself, because that's what that part is. It reintroduces you to who you've always been anyway. You just start remembering.
Yeah.
Because you start losing layers. Those you start losing those other layers that you kind of acquired, you know. So you, when you finally get back to yourself, like there is a sense of ease. And I don't think that is what people think it is, where it's like you don't ever have problems. It's just that your response to like something like where you it's canceled, it's like you just, it's canceled. Like, what can I do? It's canceled.
Done.
And
It's over.
it's over. Yeah, so and that's the ease. Like when you can navigate the things like that.
But
you got to know, you got to go through that process first.
So here's an authentic, because I'm going to share a little bit of what I'm dealing with, and then I'm gonna connect that to a non-negotiable.
Okay.
So right now, I have this fundraising campaign going on right now, right, for all of my projects that I got going on the West Side.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll share more about the actual campaign and what I'm doing as we're, closing out today. Mm-hmm. But I jumped in, right? I jumped in to like really connect myself to this campaign. And then also I did it because I needed money. I needed money to continue to do this project, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of this work is not paid. Mm-hmm. It's not paid work. I don't get paid to be in conversation with a funder. Mm-hmm. I don't get paid to send emails.
Conversation, right?
You know what I mean? Like, do all the stuff that I'm doing, all the legwork that I gotta do, all the background, talking to the city, doing all this. I don't have a paycheck coming in every 2 weeks to cover my bills, right? So I'm like, Vanessa, you got to get out here and you got to move some mountains, literally. You know what I mean? So stepping into this fundraising campaign and not having any money. So at the same time, I'm like, I'm living on my credit cards right now. Mm-hmm. Literally. Like, my bank accounts are in the negative. Mm. I'm living on my credit cards. And that's a circumstance. That's the word I was looking for. Mm-hmm. That's a circumstance. It's not me. Mm-hmm. That's just something that happens in life that it's going to deal with, and I'm dealing with it, right? Mm-hmm. So over the weekend, I also realized that I came to terms with, I do need regular money. Mm-hmm. Like, I got to have it, because doing this work, although I love it so much, unless somebody, and look, I'm open to unexpected money and unexpected funding. Somebody might see this and say, hey, you know what, Vanessa, here's $50K. And I'll be like, okay, I'll take it. You know what I mean? But what my point is that these are the things, like when you take the risk, right, to do the things that I wanted to do, life shows up, circumstances happen, but that doesn't change who I am at my core. Mm-hmm. So it's like I'm constantly, like you're saying, like taking all these layers off to get back to who I am at my core. Because when I'm being authentic, not inauthentic, but when I'm being myself, that's when more of those things come to me. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. So I start attracting those things to myself. Mm-hmm. So a non-negotiable for me is, how do I say it? So it's like, it's like not allowing circumstances to take away from the core of that person, right?
Love that.
Because it's so, yeah. So I don't know what you would call that. I'm sure there's a word for it, but not allowing the circumstances to take me away or take a person away, right? And so if I'm with somebody and that person's being authentic with me, and they're going through something, to share that, or not, but don't change who you are at your core because you got some shit going on.
I love how you just reframed this whole entire conversation, because literally typically when we're talking about non-negotiables, we tend to think about what we're just not going to allow from anybody else or take from anybody else. Like those non-negotiables. This is what it is for me in business, this. But what you just did was listed your non-negotiable with yourself. And I think as I was listening to you say that, I was like, right. Because those are the only non-negotiables that matter. Because once you lock in those non-negotiables with yourself and you honor them, with integrity, then you don't even have to communicate the other ones, because how you show up and who you are won't even present those type of experiences. It won't create those kind of realities.
Exactly, because it's about us. It's about you, and your life is about me. And when you realize that, and when I realize this for myself, and I have to constantly remind myself, right, is that I am the creator of my life.
Yep.
I am everything that I have, everything that I've created it, right? And I have a lot more tactileness in my life. Like I can actually see it in my life because I've been doing this a very long time. Mm-hmm. So it's not like, when people start to realize that that what they choose is what they get. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like you choosing a certain thing, you're going to get exactly what you chose. Mm-hmm. And so that power that we have to choose is something that I think a lot of people, we tend to point fingers and blame people and say, oh, well, that's because that person did that thing and blah, 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 right? Now, okay, so let's be clear. Like, I'm not talking about violence against somebody or anything like that. Like, I'm not, mm-hmm. But when you set out for something and that thing isn't for you, you do it anyway. You know what I mean? So I think that when we start to realize that we are the makers of our life, then it becomes a different conversation that we don't have to do. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You don't have to do a whole lot of stuff. Like, when I say do, I mean force. Okay. Like, because I think that people get that word mixed up. Like, there's actions that when we choose a way of being, there's actions that come with that. So that's like a doing, right? But when I say doing, but there's a being that of humans. Like, if we be ourselves, be authentic, and then you don't have to do a whole lot.
Yeah, that part.
You don't have to force yourself in spaces that that aren't for you.
That part.
You know what I mean? That's why we see more and more folks who are LGBTQ plus community. We're seeing more and more people be more comfortable coming out, mm-hmm. and being their true selves.
Being themselves.
Because look, I'm going to tell you, 100 years ago, there were probably the same amount of folks, mm-hmm. that there are now, that, mm-hmm. were living their lives. They were living lives, mm-hmm. and doing stuff behind the scenes in the shadows because society wasn't cool with it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Now it's like more and more people are coming out, being true to who they are. It's freaking people out. They get freaked out. They're like, whoa, I love it. I think because I get to see who you are in front of me. Your authentic, bright, beautiful, shining light. I get to see.
Know what it takes. What it takes too for somebody to show up as them full selves. Like, how hard it is to do. So when I see people do it, it brings me so much. It makes me happy. I like it gives me joy. It's like, wow, you really are choosing you. Like you really are choosing you. And it's beautiful to see. And this is what happens when you choose you. And you know what's happening? What I think happens is that people be thinking they choosing them. That's all it is. Like people may see what it looks like for you to choose you and may like it. So they think to copy and emulate you versus doing like the freedom that you actually have in you to, and this is just, they don't see like what you do is the final outcome of like the expression. That's the result of the freedom. So instead of like not chasing, but instead of searching for the freedom in them, then you just copy.
Yeah.
Because you think that's the thing. And it's like, no, you're not attracted to the thing. You're attracted to what's in me that produces this thing.
Yeah.
And it's in you. You can see it if you just go deeper. It's in you too. That's why, you know, we're here, but you just got to see it.
Yeah. And sometimes, you know, I think where we get hurt a lot of times is that we want people to see it when we want them to see it. Mm-hmm. Or we want certain people to see it. Mm-hmm. Like when we want them. And it doesn't happen like that.
And now I just be like, oh, okay, shit.
I just be like, what?
I got enough on my plate to not worry. Okay.
But you know, when it becomes personal, that's when people get upset. When you in a personal relationship with somebody. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's when a lot of upset happens. You know.
But okay, so as we start to round this out, because I told you I'm going to work on the beach today. I'm meeting. They texted me now like, well, we're going to mastermind on the beach. We need a scenery change. We need some water, outside, nature, and let's do a mastermind and relax and kick it and have a good time while we do it. Great. Yes, got to do it. But before we do that, let's talk about the project. Let's talk about the fun that you have. Just, you know, updates with the project or anything that you have going on, how people can affect all those things. And yeah, let's do that. I'm gonna make you the full screen.
So let's see. So like I said, you know what I mean? So I'm fundraising. So, and I'm also dealing, you know, with what the story that I have around fundraising. So there's a story that I have, like it's hard, or I don't know what I'm doing, or people aren't going to give me money, or whatever that story is. I'm also dealing with the story that I have in my mind and fundraising at the same time. So the People Power Projects campaign is still on GoFundMe. You can just look it up, People Powered Projects. Vanessa Stokes is my name. We've raised about $3,000 over the last month, I'd say. It's been about a month. And I've never done that before. And so I'm very thankful for everyone who has donated or shared. And there's still a large gap, right? So I'm still doing the work of raising the money for these projects that I'm working on creating in the Austin community with the Out West Gallery and Cafe, which is a cafe food place with a community space. I'm a foodie. I love eating. I love food. I love growing. I'm about to go to the garden this week and plant all of my beautiful plants that I've been, some food plants that I'm going to grow in the garden this year. So I'm still doing the fundraising campaign. I'm still, you know, working towards building this fund, right? And I think this is where I wanted to talk more about creating space for community organizations, community groups to get the funding that they need to continue the projects that they're doing in community. And so we have this nonprofit industrial complex, and in Chicago, it's pretty big, right? We got some pretty large foundations that are focused on Chicago. There's some national foundations here. I'm not saying that they don't do good work, and I'm not saying that they don't help organizations and people and artists, and I'm not saying that they don't do that, right? I'm just saying that the way that it's done, it's designed to not really create transformation, which is a different conversation, right? Because if it was, our communities would already be transformed. We live in an abundant world. There's a ton of resources out here. Why are we living in lack and scarcity? Is a lot of the question that comes up a lot with the folks that I'm working with. And it's because it's a mindset, it's a system that's been designed to have people in these hierarchies, these spaces of hierarchical spaces, and that's kind of this capitalist white supremacist space that we are in. So my live on here is going to end. Okay, cool. So my point and I'm making is that so creating a fund, creating a way for us, and there are other people that are doing this out in community. A lot of folks are doing this, right? Because the way that we get funds in the community, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. It hasn't worked. And what we're seeing now is that that a lot of organizations, especially now with what's happening in the world, we need other ways to raise money. We need to look at the redistribution of wealth in this world. There's plenty of resources. There's plenty of money. There's plenty, and there's a space where a lot of folks don't get, and there's a lot of people that do, and it just doesn't work. That's why when you go to communities like Austin, West Garfield Park, Inglewood, that's why they look the same. That's why they've been looking like that forever, because we need to create a new way of fundraising. So that's kind of the whole People Power projects is to start looking at that, to start having conversations around it. You know, looking at the Out West Gallery and Cafe, Third City Studio, and Third City Cafe. Those are they're three separate spaces. Third City Cafe and Third City Studio are on North Avenue. So it's looking at how do we build along a corridor, the same thing on Chicago Avenue with the Out West Gallery and Cafe. So it's getting down on the ground with the things that move people: art, culture, food. People love them things, and they show up. And so how do we get folks? How do we get even these foundations? How do we get them to look at funding differently? How do we get them to see that the impact that they're trying to make, they ain't making it? All I know is if they were trying to make the impact, really, all of those kids that you see downtown on the weekend that are running around, those 400 or 500 kids, they wouldn't be doing all of that. They wouldn't be doing that if our communities, if we were taking care of ourselves, and if you were actually helping us take care of ourselves, we wouldn't be doing all of that. But you got to understand, that's the way the system is designed, right? So what I'm talking about is creating a new system, creating another, not a new way, because this is something that we've done since the beginning of time, because we're communal beings. We have to be in community. Community is part of who we are, right? That's part of the human experience, is to be within community. So these aren't new ways. They're not. We're just bringing it back. So sharing, cooperation, collaboration, those are kind of the things that I'm talking about. So this campaign is to really start to have these conversations on the West Side, in the Austin community, and I'm excited to continue to do the work of fundraising. So we're at $3,000, please. Check us out. Go on, GoFundMe, and if you can't donate, that's fine. I understand. Forward it to people. Put it in your email. share it on Instagram, share it with your friends. You know what I mean? That's how we help each other. So yeah, Wanaki, I'm done.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And listen, we already know the money is gonna come. It's on its way.
Oh no, it's already here.
It's here.
You already said it.
Here.
You said what we do is we just uncover, right?
Yep.
Uncover.
Yep.
It's already here.
I'm is. That's
uncovering
the part. Yeah.
As I'm being authentic. By me being authentic, it uncovers the way, So this is a way. Us being online, talking, growing.
What is something that you would have? What's a note or something as we start to head out? But what is a gem or something that you can leave behind for somebody who is new to fundraising on their journey, or maybe they don't know anything about it? Knowing what you know now from as you are learning even more real time, what is something that you can leave behind, like a little breadcrumb for somebody else?
Let's see. I would say fundraising is really about your story. It's about the why, and so, I would say, build on the story, like really create a narrative about why you do what you're doing. Like, what is it that, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that service or creating what kind of program or initiative? Like, why? Mm-hmm. And I think that and once you, and this is what I do for a living too. So, I help people to get to the why. Mm. Sometimes you don't even know why you do it. You're just doing it. But it takes something like you said, to reveal and to get back to who we really are.
Yeah.
We have layers of stuff that conditioning that this world has put on top of our light that we can't see ourselves. So it's essentially uncovering all of those parts of you so you can get to the why. Why are you doing what you're doing? So it's just building a narrative out. And I would say, just don't get discouraged, It's, I wrote 10 grants before I got any money. I was writing grants for years before I got anything.
Yeah.
And it takes more than just writing grants.
Yeah.
People always asking me, how did you get all that money? All those grants. And I'm just like, because I build relationships with people.
Relationships, social equity.
You got to go. You got to get on. You got to call people that you don't know. You got to cold call folks.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's why you need to know why you're doing it and have a narrative around it. So, and
really nurture those relationships. Just to add to that, really nurture those relationships and leverage them. And also I would let people know that, even in fundraising, I know sometimes, even as I'm thinking about myself and I'm getting ready to do my own, which is blowing my mind. But knowing what else do I need besides the money? Like, what other pieces to this do I need? So is it a person to help me build out a plan? Or is it, like extra hands, somebody can take something off my plate? For me, my mindset right now going into this is, who are the people that I'm going to need to help me pull this off? Yeah. And then actually leveraging them. And because I know that I nurture my relationships, that social equity that you say, so maybe if I'm hitting up one of my people, like my homegirl, I don't really need you to pay me or donate to the fundraiser, but I do need you to help me put it on.
Yeah.
And that's your strength. So, so that's what, so that would be my advice to somebody going into it as well. Like the who, not the how. It's a book called Who, Not How. And so a lot of the times we get really caught up in the hows that we don't necessarily consider the who's, who can to execute the how, because all you got to know is your why and have a clear vision of it, and then the who is going to execute that however they see fit, and you don't have to be caught up on it. So that's the book my homegirl put me on. So if y'all are also actively building and you're watching this, Who Not How is a book that's so dope. I listened to the audiobook, I listened to it literally in one day while I was cleaning up, because the author had like a lot of side notes and just thought process and all of these things. But Who Not How is the name of that book. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm not even thinking about how to do it. I'm thinking, who do I need to, and then they can tell me how they can do it, do it. And so that would be my bit of advice. And so, and really, I just say that to connect to what you said in terms of nurturing your relationships, because our wealth is in our network and our relationships. And so again, look at who you already have, and then see how they can help you otherwise.
Yeah. Yes. It's all about relationships.
Yeah.
Because it goes back to communal. We're communal beings. Like, we're supposed to be in community. This is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to like work with folks, work people. You know what I mean? And so even if that person is in front of a computer or they're creating something, if there's a person that's behind it, and so it's all about relationships.
Yep.
And so like
leveraging them. I'm learning now that most people, myself included, do not ask. They will have all the people that they need, that they're connected to, like, will have it. I was just talking to my mentee yesterday, and she was saying something, and I'm like, girl, what? You have me. Like, what do you mean? And then her very next thing was, well, I don't want to put anything on you. I'm like, and we all do this. At least I know I did. And I had to realize, like, dang, who do I already have that I'm not leveraging, that I haven't even opened my mouth to ask for anything for? You know what I'm saying? So yes, our relationships, but it's more than just having those relationships to say that you have them. Like, if you are truly in community, then you should be able to also open your mouth and ask when you need it, because that's community,
Yeah.
That's community.
But it takes something to do that, though, because we're accustomed to be siloed into work in isolation. That is one of the structures inside of a capitalist system, that gets us to not see that it's all about relationships. So instead of us, like, we get caught up in, I don't want to upset somebody, I don't want to that I don't want to say wrong thing, I don't know if that person has time for me, like, we get caught up in all of that stuff. And then we're not ever in action. I mean, the worst thing that somebody could say to you is, what? No. You know what I mean? But people don't want to hear no. They don't want to hear no. They want to hear yes.
Now the crazy thing is, at this point in my life, the crazy thing is, the worst thing somebody can say to me is yes when they should have said no. Because don't even make me believe you can do it, and then I find out on the back end you can't. Just tell me no up front. That's the best thing.
So that's that transparency thing that you be talking about.
Yeah, just tell me no. The worst thing you can do for me is so anybody listening to this, if you ever encounter me, let your no be no with me. If you know it in your heart that the answer is no, please tell me that. I will love and respect you so much for it. But if you say yes, and then I expect you to be able to do it because it's a yes and it's really a no, or you really don't want to do it, so when you do it, it's like,
oh yeah, I do that. I actually do that all the time. I do that. I'm in a situation right now where I'm doing it, where I said yes because I wanted to help, and I haven't really been a help because I'm procrastinating and I'm not doing it. I'm not, and so that's what I'm doing today. Is I'm completing what I said I was going to do.
Yeah.
Because it's not fair, and it's not fair. It's just not fair. It's not cool. So I'm being my word, and that's the other part too. It's like, even when you say you can't, like, be truthful, be honest, and be like, you know what, maybe I was a little overstepped or whatever, you know, and I said something that, but that's being authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're inauthentic and then you realize you've been inauthentic, how you become authentic is by telling somebody you've been inauthentic.
You
You know,
gotta
you
face
gotta
it.
come clean, man.
Yep, you gotta face it.
Man, people don't want to do that.
But okay, because we can keep going.
I
We're
know.
an hour and 20 minutes.
Yes.
So, but no, this was good. This was good. I think the biggest takeaway for me was literally the way you reframed this whole conversation about negotiating and your non-negotiables. I mean, and really just focusing on the ones that you set with yourself and making sure that you actually stand on business and adhere to them yourself, like for real.
Yeah. And then you attract who you are, not what you want.
Yep.
So then I attract the people, places, and things like me.
Yep.
You know, I like attracts like. So at the core of it, it's really about being authentic.
Man.
It's about being.
Because I'm just thinking about it. It's like if you just do the hard work to set up your own little barriers and your boundaries and all of those things, if you do it with yourself, you really don't have to work hard at all to set all of these different boundaries and barriers outside of you with people, hoping that they adhere to them. And then if they don't, you got to do this. When it's just, if you would do all of the work in yourself, you could really miss almost all of that. At least it happening like that. It's not to say that you won't encounter people who may have whatever intention they have, but who you are is going to handle it so differently from the beginning that it wouldn't even escalate to half of the stuff it would escalate to.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and also too, this is why a lot of entrepreneurs, okay, so this, like a lot of entrepreneurs to really excel and to expand your business, you have to work on you.
Yes.
It's got to be a continuous thing that you're doing at the same time as you work your business, right? Because let me tell you something, like working in regular spaces, and this is, like I was saying to myself, like I need regular money, so I might have to get like a job, right? And so, which is very challenging. It's a very challenging space for me to work in a job, right? And I say that because I will say something. And it's not easy being spaces where you speak your mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I'll be that person to say something, and then they looking at me like, "Did she say that?" And I'll be like, "Yes, I just said it. Absolutely." So it's easier for me to be in my own job space, my own career that I'm building myself, because then I can choose the folks that I want to work with. When I work for somebody, I got to work the way that they want me to work. So yeah, so I'm very interested to see what happens next in my life. I'm having so much fun with it that I'm so interested to see what happens by next week. So I'll have an update
by next week. We listen to be continued.
But yes, thank you everybody for hanging out with us today.
Yeah, this is cool.
It was good. It's always good to be with Wanaki, and you always ask really great questions. So thank you for being present and asking great questions today. But next week, what are we talking about next week? Did anything come up for you in this conversation?
I don't know. I'm gonna think on it. Let's tap back in.
Yeah.
Just as things.
If people have some something that they want to
like a poll.
Yeah, maybe because I think I need to tell you this really quick. So people are watching this. I just let you know. So I had this community member that I went to this training this past week, she told me that she's been watching our podcast.
Oh,
right?
wow. Okay.
And she said something that I found very interesting. She said, you know, she's like, it's really interesting what people listen to. She's like, and it also makes me, it also, she saw for herself, like where she isn't, well, I wouldn't say that she isn't stepping into, but that people actually listen, right? Like, I think that that's the thing, like that folks, they don't step into certain areas in their life because they don't think people are going to pay much attention to it.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Um,
Oh, that was good.
Yeah. So it made her see for herself, like areas where she can possibly like use her voice to do some of the things, you know. So that's the kind of.
Lucky.
And
She watches it on YouTube.
She watches it, yeah.
That's so crazy. You know, when I was going on YouTube today, I was like on our little page, I'm like, dang, we got some. I'm like, we got 20 views, but that's a lot though because we're just starting. And I was just like, wow, like I remember it was just like 2 or something, and now it's 20. And you know, and that's just like really how things compound. And so when you say something like that, like I'm like, dang, we really are doing this real time and putting it out there and letting it live. And the fact that it's impacting people, that is,
it's pretty dope, right?
All you want. And all it took is for us to again show up and just be ourselves every day, every time, and just talk about our lot, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I found that very interesting. But my point is maybe folks out here in the world would like to, would like us to talk about something.
Well, did you ask her? Maybe ask her since we know
yeah,
for
sure. I will. Yeah, absolutely. I'll ask her.
And tell her to say hello
if
she watches us live so we can see her when she hops on.
Yeah, absolutely. I will. Nobody chatted with us today. Okay.
No, not today. That's okay. I'm excited for this.
Me too. Me too. So I'm excited. You know, I always anytime a conversation, I'm having all I could do this all day long.
Yes.
And and just be in conversation. And just, talk out things. It helps me.
It helps. Listen, I think we always leave with just from the conversation, like perspectives and epiphanies and all types of stuff. That's how I know, like, once we touch base for next week, it's gonna come because once I think about this and the way you just reframed that non-negotiable for me, and the fact that I always this whole time I've been thinking about it like externally, even though I know better, but it always is
it's so easy.
For it to slip. So that's why these things be important, because then when you say it immediately, I'm like, right, duh, right.
Yeah, because when you create that non-negotiable for you, it'll show up.
Yeah, or identify the ones that I've already created. Now I need to name them. Like, what are they? Because I know they're there because I'm seeing the reflection be different. But now, like, I want to know, like, what were those non-negotiables?
Yeah.
This is fun.
Great. I'm sure you'll find a bunch of things.
I know. I'm excited for this.
Yes.
Okay. Well, yes, that is that. 1 hour and 29 minutes. I am done.
Yes.
Yeah, out of here. I'm about to head outside, enjoy this weather.
Yes, go have a good time.
Outside and enjoy your weather.
Enjoy
the weather if you can.
Yes. I'm gonna go. I don't know when I gotta finish this thing that I said I was gonna finish. So that's what I'm gonna do right now.
Okay. Well, alrighty, see you.
All right, bye.
In this first